Welcome to another garage audit. We've just arrived in Wichita, Kansas, and we're going to be visiting Scott Barber, the aptly named Barber Shop. Let's go take a look. Off we go to the barber shop. Scott, how are you today?
Doing well.
Excellent.
How are you?
Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So we're in the barber shop.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you just recently moved in here?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. In October.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I noticed the sign outside is still bare, but
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that.
Okay.
Might come down. You can't really see it from the north.
Okay.
If you're coming south, you can't see it because of the building next door.
Yes.
And the cost to put a sign in there was like 10 grand.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hit or miss whether it's going to be valuable.
Right.
I'd like to put something up there if I'm going
Right.
to keep it.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I'm going to go with like a proper,
Yeah.
really nice sign.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Excellent. So this is the future reception.
yeah, kind of showroom actually.
Yeah.
So this wall's coming out soon, and I'm going to put a roll-up door in from one of the other shop spaces, and so this will be like the clean room showroom area.
Oh, excellent.
So I'm going to put air purifiers in to do PPF only.
Yes.
And then showroom. You
Yeah.
know, I've got a Viper that I store here
Okay.
that I take out for shows, and
Yes.
so I'm going to keep that kind of right here.
Okay.
When you first walk in the door, you see the beautiful black
nice,
Viper.
shiny, yeah.
You know. Yeah. So eventually, this will all be showroom space.
Okay.
I'm keeping the offices. I've got kids that hang out in this office here.
Yeah.
And then I've got a plotter room with all my PPF and everything, and then just an extra chemical room for chemicals that I just grab and put on a cart when I'm going
Yes.
to do details and things like that.
Okay. Excellent. Take a
yeah.
walk through.
Yeah. Yeah. So there will be a lot of room for the showroom. So this is kind of messy at the moment. It's not a big priority.
Yeah.
You know.
No.
It's just kind of a catch-all.
Yeah.
So we've got the plotter and all of the PPF supplies. You know, basically anything to do with PPF is in here.
Okay.
The steamer, extra kegs.
Yeah.
You know, all of my film, the plotter, and all the tables, of course, and the race
Yes.
ramps for those. But yeah, so this is kind of just the PPF room. Only really keep anything PPF
Yeah.
and windshield protection film
Yeah.
oriented in here.
Okay. Excellent.
And then in this other office, well, storage room, this is kind of the catch-all for actual detailing supplies and
Okay.
tools. So all my Milwaukee stuff that I use for, you know, stripping down interiors or polishing,
Yeah.
blowers, everything lives in here, all the power tools. And then I've got assorted chemicals. Like I said, I kind of just grab and take to a cart
Yes.
where I'm going to be working
Right.
to keep down. So this has all my like gallons and pre-mixed stuff
Yeah.
in containers that I can just quickly pour into bottles. And then we got new pad storage in here, and then discs for
Yeah.
sanding and other, you know, just other odds and ends really. And then all the chemicals for interiors are in this one, and then this is all polishes, paint prep, spray,
Yeah.
and I already know how you're going to feel about all of the polishes.
No.
but,
That's fine.
there are plenty of them.
Yeah. You've got
you
a
know.
good selection. We'll put it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, there is a good selection, and so I generally just go for the gold standard for regular bite polishes.
Yeah.
And then I'm testing a new compound for the detail truck.
Yeah.
That came by. They dropped off a new one last week and said, "Hey, can you try this?" And
Yeah.
fell in love with it.
Okay.
It was incredible. So, you know, I will probably be simplifying this some.
Yes.
But all the boat compounds and stuff, I don't know. Some work great, some don't work
Yeah.
great. You know, it's
Some
kinda
dust
hit or
like
miss.
crazy, some
Yeah,
don't dust. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So lots of different variety depending
Yeah.
on what I'm working on. Towels, used pads, ceramic coating, interior detail, tool drawer,
Yeah.
and then I keep all of my squeegees and things like that in here.
Yeah. For the PPF.
For the PPF, and then I've got, you know, this is all stuff that's in use, and basically anything in here is just new and
Yeah.
unused. So
Yeah. I like the fact that everything is labeled. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a necessity. I went crazy with the label maker.
Okay.
Everything has a label on it.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah.
because the last thing I want to do is put somebody in here. My wife comes and helps all the time.
Yes.
And so I can just say, grab X, Y, or Z.
Yes.
And she knows what it is. She doesn't have to guess the color.
Yeah.
That's really a
That always helps.
necessity.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, all of the towels I try to label all the towels too. So it's easy to find.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
yeah.
And you really are invested into Milwaukee.
I really am. I really want your new polishers, but I'm very invested
Yeah.
in the Milwaukee.
Good. No,
But they're
I know,
okay.
I noticed you've got the small sander there for the app.
Yes.
They have the new one that's coming out. I have it on order from Acme.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that.
I'm
turns
excited to try that one.
Yeah.
One of my buddies has one on order.
Yeah.
So he was like, "You can try it out when I get it." And I was like, "All right," because
Yeah.
I like the palm. I like that
Yeah.
feel better. It feels clunky to get to the speed and to the power.
Yeah.
And I don't love the way.
And
it
that one,
operates.
you've got, the 6 amp hour batteries everywhere.
Right.
It works better with the 3 amp hour.
Yes, I know. I've got the 5 amp hours, and that's what I usually run with it. And I just kind of like prop it up a little bit so that it's low pressure.
Yeah. And just so you know, we're talking about this sander, and when you put the battery on it, it becomes really lopsided.
Yeah.
And this is the 5 amp hour. So imagine with a 6, it's even.
Yeah, it's almost unusable with the 6 amp hour. I don't like trying it with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got very invested in the Milwaukee stuff.
Yep.
And so
Good products. So.
they are. Yeah, the polishers work great. The rotaries are great.
Yeah.
I like that it's all the same. I can use the same battery on my blower as the polisher, and so
yeah, exactly.
And then the fan's really nice for interiors on a hot day.
Yes.
Being able to get a little extra airflow without blowing in dust from outside of the vehicle.
Yeah.
Is really nice to be able to set that up.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess I've got some extra my fans,
the
seat drying fans, and the ozone generator, and then some battery chargers up there.
Is the ozone something you use a lot?
What's that?
The ozone?
No, I don't. I don't like to use it.
No.
I don't like the process of using it.
Yes.
I've tried setting up the proper way where you have it vented into the vehicle instead
on the roof of the vehicle, through the sunroof, or through a door. Yeah.
It just doesn't seem to work well, and it could be a cheap ozone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've had more expensive ones that have died really rapidly, and so then I bought a cheap one, and I had a smoke odor removal, and I ran that thing for 4 days off and on.
Okay.
And I still couldn't, it still wouldn't chew out the smoke odor. And that was after shampooing the seats and the carpet and trying to clean the headliner as best as possible. So it seems hit or miss. I've thought about getting that big one.
Actually, I'm going to save you some money. Get some bio bombs.
Bio bombs?
They work so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen them. I've not tried them.
Yeah.
So I'll have to get some of those.
They definitely work. You don't have to plug anything in. If you get their little bubbler system, it goes even faster.
Oh,
so
really?
like 2 hours instead of leaving it overnight.
Okay.
We had a vehicle in the DIY shop. The owner loves his cigars.
Yeah. Wow.
And fortunately for him, he has no sense of smell. So he didn't know his car was this bad. We pulled it into the garage, and the whole garage smelled like cigar smoke because he smokes inside the car. And that was at the end of the day. We put a bio bomb in it, left it overnight. The next morning, not only did the car not smell, neither did the shop.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And we didn't have the bubbler. It was just the regular bio bomb.
Regular bio bomb?
Yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah, I'll have to pick some of those up. I saw them in Jamie's video. He and those cases that he had made for him. So whoever made them.
Oh, well, the cases are they have bio bars. So
those are bio bars.
Yeah, scented bars that you leave in the car.
Yeah.
But the bio bombs are actually, for removing the odors, and they do a great job.
Is that like throw the insect killers in, you stick it open and toss it in, and it kills it off? Or
you put it in the cup holder.
Okay.
So I like to put a towel down, put it in the cup holder, drop the pill in, close the doors, let it sit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to get some of those. Give that a try.
Because they're not expensive and they work.
And that thing just poisons you.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it. You can't breathe in the vehicle or in the shop even,
Yeah.
because it just chokes you out.
Yeah, well,
so
it,
which is what it's supposed to do.
The biobomb you can do before you clean. It's always better if you do it afterwards. But if you have a really bad odor, you can clean, or you can do the biobomb first to get rid of most of it, and then do your cleaning afterwards. I prefer to clean first, but like I said, if it's a car that's like the car we had that smelled of cigars, I couldn't have cleaned the inside of that one the way it was.
Okay.
So,
yeah, no, that's good to know. I mean, cigars are tough.
Yeah, they are.
I enjoy my cigars as well, but I don't enjoy them in my vehicle or anywhere in my garage or home.
74.
71.
71.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's gonna go home Saturday, I think. So.
Okay.
So this is kind of the makeshift PPF room right now while I'm, waiting.
Yeah.
I don't want to pull a loan out to do the work.
No.
I just figure it'd take a little bit of time and do it the right way the first time.
Yeah.
But so this is kind of the makeshift PPF room for right now. There was another wall in here. As soon as I moved in, I took it out to extend the space as much as it could be. And so this is kind of my clean room. It's certainly not clean, but cleaner room than the wash bay. And so this is where I set up PPF for right now.
Yeah.
There's no floor drain over here, which there won't be a floor drain in there anyways. And generally speaking, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, PPF gets wet, but you can mop it up.
Right. Yeah. You squeegee it out to a different low place. If it's collecting. Unfortunately, where I put the cars basically right here.
Yeah.
There's the low spots actually under the middle of the car, so the water just naturally flows under the vehicle, and so it takes care of itself in here.
Now, did you PPF this car?
No, this one does not have any PPF. This is had water spots. Really bad, and so I did a 3-stage wet sand and cut and polish.
Yep.
And then ceramic coating on it.
Beautiful.
So it's been a labor of love this winter.
Okay.
Getting it ready. They were in no hurry, and I wasn't in a huge hurry to get it out of here. So I enjoy looking at it. I'm really sad it's going away Saturday.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed its presence. But yeah, I'm excited that she'll get to go drive it and take it out.
Yeah.
And enjoy it this year. So
excellent.
But yeah, so no, this one's just a short-term stay. And then we got to have the Blackstone. You can't you got to be able to grill. You got
lunchtime.
Yeah. Family comes up here on the weekends, and we make food and work on occasion and things like that. So
good.
Currently, the air compressor is kind of over here in a shared hallway. I use it on both sides. Use it to blow out wool pads when I'm doing heavy cuts.
Okay.
And then of course, whenever I've got interior work going on, it's nice to be able to flow it in and out. So, and then this is the wash bay. This is where most of the work gets done now or currently. I do interiors in here. I do washes. Sometimes I polish in here. It kind of depends on what I've got in here. Otherwise, I've got a C8 Z06 getting dropped off Friday afternoon for a bunch of PPF and ceramic coating.
Yeah.
So that's why that thing has to go Saturday.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
But, C8's not bad to look at.
No, the C8 won't be bad to look at either. So and it's bright orange, so it's the perfect color.
Yeah.
But so here I've got, cabinets and a shelf. I keep all my drying towels out here.
Right.
And then those are my ceramic coating towels for like fresh wipes, the green ones. Those are unused just for coatings.
Good.
I've got tons of drying towels, and then just some extra brushes and things like that. I keep my big pump sprayers over there with it, and then that's my makeshift extractor.
The vacuum.
Yeah, because I get the expensive extractors are wonderful, but they're expensive.
Yeah,
and they're very expensive to repair. Also, is what I found. So I just got one of those Rip Clean basically sets.
Yeah,
and that thing works better than the extractor ever did, other than not being heated.
Yeah,
that is the downside. But it just hooks up to the water source, and I run it through my DI system.
Yeah, and some people actually run a hot water heater, like a small 20-gallon hot water heater, and just run it through that.
I thought about running just like one of the tankless ones.
Yeah,
maybe
that would work. Yeah.
As an option out here for that, because it would be nice to have the hot water extract.
And by the looks of it, you've got more than enough electricity here.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of power here. Yeah, this was a store company, a store supply, like a sign, big. It was called Store. So they made big signs.
Yes.
And so they would test those big signs in here, and so they needed lots of power.
Right.
For that. So that's what it was built as. Fortunately, they really cared about the way their vehicles looked.
Yeah.
Because they had this wash bay built.
Yeah.
And that's what it was built for.
Oh, it was built as a wash bay?
Yeah, there's a I don't know, several 100-gallon in-floor drain, sand pit.
Okay.
So that's what this was purposed for, was just for washing cars. So
excellent.
I've got this enormous wash pit. And it flows perfectly in there. I don't have to squeegee anymore.
Oh, wow.
This was the biggest game changer.
Yeah.
Not having to squeegee water to a drain anymore.
Yeah.
Really made a big difference. And I do a lot of rinseless now.
Yeah.
Which also makes a difference. But having just DI water on demand is really nice. So this was built as a wash bay. I put up the wall paneling just because I didn't want
the FRP.
Yeah, I didn't want it just hitting the drywall.
Yeah.
And I figured that was a little bit safer.
Yeah, it is
for the amount of humidity that we see in here.
Yeah. And the lighting, I like the way you've done it on the angle.
Yeah. Yeah. I still really think I need a couple just straight down the center.
Yeah, it is.
Because on taller vehicles, you would think that that's plenty tall enough to get good light on the middle of the roof.
Yeah.
But I had a big F-250 that was lifted like 6 inches. And it was the middle of the roof I was trying to like bend and twist to get the right angle on the light reflection. And so I'd like to put up a handful of lights right down the middle of the ceiling. The air conditioning is nice, but it's right in the middle. So it makes it kind of difficult to...
Yeah, well, you can branch out on either side of the AC. So.
Right, yeah. So,
and the AC is a nice thing to have as well.
Oh, it's the best thing. Yeah, that was one of the requirements when I was looking for a new building, was full temperature control.
Yeah.
Because ceramic coatings, I can control it. I know exactly what my humidity is, what my temperature is, and I know it's going to behave the same way it did yesterday, today.
Yeah, exactly.
And same with the film. You can't... Gets too hot, it's too soft. It gets too cold, you can't. Good luck.
Yeah.
You're not going to stretch it. So that was a big requirement when I was looking for a space, was full temperature control, because that's really my focus, is the coatings and the film.
Good.
I do interiors. Obviously, you can't get away from that, but my focus isn't that.
Good.
So I've kind of dwindled down. I got rid of one of the shop vacs. I used to have one for each side of the car, and I'm like, well, I don't do them often enough to justify having 2 of them sitting here. And I had somebody I knew that needed one. I was like, there you go, man.
Perfect.
Your lucky day.
Yeah.
So this is the wash bay. It's big enough to fit just about anything I do on a normal day. In here.
Good. Yeah, because it's what, 70 feet long, roughly?
It's 48 from door to door.
Okay. And then you got a 16-foot door.
Yep.
So
I
can fit the bus in here.
Yeah, you could. If you didn't have something connected to it, it should fit right in here.
It's 45 feet or 46 bumper to bumpers.
But so there's plenty of room in here for anything I could possibly need to do.
Yeah, and then your wash setup here. I see you have the big CR spotless system.
Yes. So the
Spotless Pro.
Yep, it's the Pro. With it came just as it is. This has the DI bladder or the DI tanks, the three tanks, and then it has a RO. So it pumps RO into here. Yeah. Store RO in here, and then it commands that for to run through the DI.
Okay.
So
you don't have a water meter here, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, that's right. Built in.
No, but I mean, you don't pay for water.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because RO wastes a lot of water.
It wastes. I measured it, because our water here is I'm at over 600 ppm.
Yeah.
And so I measured it to see, because I was watching the meter come out, and I was like, wow, that's really scrubbed it. And I was watching this thing just dump, and so I measured as best as I could with the measurements on the tank. And I filled up 2 5-gallon buckets for a gallon of RO water.
Yeah, it's normally
it's about
10 to 1.
Yeah, 10 to 1. And so I was like, oh, thankfully our water's really cheap here. So it's not, I mean, my biggest water bill has been like $90, I think, with all the service fees and everything.
Okay, so not too bad.
So not terrible. Yeah. And then I got the Kranzel pressure washer.
Yep.
I don't run DI through that. I just soft rinse, no pressure for the DI.
Yeah.
I don't see the point in having all the switches and connections. Like, I wanted to keep it as simple as possible, again, so that somebody can walk in here and do what I do without me being here. You know, pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
So got a 100-foot hose. Just in case. So
that'll reach anywhere you need to
go.
Well,
and that way, if I need to run it out the side, and like if he wanted to bring the toter and didn't want it, you know, I could have washed it out there or something like that. And so, you know, I've got options there.
Yeah.
But this DI system is the biggest game changer from before.
Yes.
Before the move,
with 600 ppm water, you have no choice.
Yeah, and where I was at before was south of town, and we were at like 300 ppm, but I was toting. I would go to the store every day or every other day, whatever, and buy gallons of distilled water to bring back for mixing chemicals and all of those other things. And now I don't have to do that. So, like I said, I do a lot more rinseless washes now, just for the pure fact that I have good water.
Yes.
And I know the rinseless softens the water some, but I don't want to ruin the rinseless by eating up the water.
Until you reach 1,000 ppm, the rinseless doesn't care.
Really?
Yeah. So don't waste this water on your rinseless.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, they expect, because it goes RO first. So basically the water that's running through the DI filters is 12 ppm. So it's almost nothing. So they were expecting you would get a year of pretty high usage out of those DI resins before it was time to replace, which I don't know. I'm not there yet, so I don't know. But it still reads out 1 or 0 to 1 whenever I'm running it.
Under 100 is good.
Yeah. Well, my thought was I'll just run RO water most of the time, you know. But I didn't realize you didn't have an option to just pump straight out of the tank.
Oh, okay.
So it forces the pump that's built into it forces it back through the DI resin, which is fine.
Well, you could always put another one of these.
I thought about putting like an on-demand pump that I in-tank pump in there. And I may still. I thought about upgrading the tank size, but I haven't. I think that's 40 gallons. I haven't had a need for more than that. No. I usually do about 3 gallons on a soft rinse. And that's with like heavy flooding to get all of the soap and everything out of all the cracks and crevices. So, but yeah, so this is just the wash bay. I've got all my soaps and iron remover and clay bar and all of the things, ceramic sealants in there.
Yeah.
I do have a dispensing system that has pre-diluted ratios for a few chemicals. I don't use it very much.
No. Few things here. So these should actually have the cap on with a hole drilled in it, because evaporation is a thing.
Yep.
The other aspect of these systems, they're very dependent on a consistent water flow.
Right.
So they're not very accurate.
They aren't. And so I bought a pressure regulator.
Okay.
So that I could feed it a constant pressure rating.
Yeah.
Which I think this unit called for 60 psi.
Yes.
For the proper dilution ratios with the tips.
Yes.
You know, there's calculations that you could do to change it, but so 60 psi is what that feeds to it.
Okay.
I haven't decided. I'm thinking about moving it, so I just run a hose whenever I need it. I don't need it very often when I'm filling up 2-gallon pump sprayers with the chemicals anyways.
Yeah.
So but yeah, so this is just kind of anything washing and or like you know, my detail sprays are in there and things like that for drying process.
Good.
So I tried to kind of separate as much as possible in the areas as they needed to be.
Yes.
But you know, I'd like to epoxy the floors maybe at some point.
Having done epoxy and having done polished concrete, I actually prefer polished concrete now.
So how do you feel about the slickness of polished concrete, though?
Not an issue.
Really?
Yeah. If they polish it to 800 or 1,000, you're going to be slick.
Right.
If they stop at 600, you're fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's easy to maintain, easy to clean. You're not going to stain it. You're not going to rip it. So, a few changes I'd suggest in here.
Yeah.
Eventually, because budget is always a concern. FRP on that side as well.
Yeah.
Just up to the the 8-foot level as well, or
right.
7.5, wherever that beam is.
Yeah.
Just tidy the place up. It
looks better. Yeah. I want to do that because I just talked to a guy who does the insulation wrap.
Yes.
And I was talking to him about, because I need to get that hole in the ceiling fixed from an old leak, and then I just want to rewrap all of the ceiling and the wall.
Right.
In here and in the other space.
Yes.
Because it's old. I mean, the building is 20 years old. It's aged fairly well in my opinion. I mean, but it just kind of flakes off and falls off. So if I bump it with my shirt or something,
you get flakes
covered. I get covered in white flakes.
Yeah.
And so that is something that like I said, I just spoke with somebody about rewrapping all of the insulation.
Yeah.
Because I initially planned to put the FRP up to that first beam.
Yeah.
On that side as well, but I was hesitant because there's no good way to anchor it at the bottom, and I didn't want to have the downward angle going towards.
Yeah.
And so what I'm gonna have to probably do is install it on the inside of the rail, like trim them down to whatever that is,
fit inside of
it, and then adhesive tack them to the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
But that way it's not such a in case there's overspray when it gets wet, when I'm rinsing off a roof or whatever.
Right.
I don't really want it flooding into the metal.
No.
And potentially causing issues later with that. So that was my concern with that. But the wall is a big pain point for me. I don't like taking pictures in here or, even videos. I shoot a lot of videos in here, like short stuff. And I always try to get an angle where that's not visible.
Right. The other thing, you say, to build it out, you can actually put a wooden framing on the bottom and the top.
Oh, sure.
And then attach the FRP to that.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Do some treated wood down, like pressure treated wood.
Yeah, or you can get the aluminum studs.
Oh.
They do the same thing. You can do the same thing as well.
Yeah.
And that way it would actually build out past that metal.
Right.
Past here.
Right.
So by building out past this, and then you can seal the wall to the floor, so you're not worried about water getting to that piece of metal.
Right.
And then it's easier to attach to this, and then your FRP is.
And I could even move it out just a little bit down low.
Make it equal with this.
Yeah.
The wall. You'd lose 6 inches in here, but that's not.
I mean, 6 inches doesn't make a big difference because really I've lost more than that with the beam anyways.
Right.
So.
One other thing to fix here.
Yeah.
Is sign says extinguisher, but where's the extinguisher?
Well, yeah, this one needs replaced.
Yeah.
I've got the extinguisher sitting out there.
Okay.
But it wouldn't stay there. I don't know. It was like that when I moved in, and I just haven't gone and got a new hook for it. Yeah. So.
But always good to have a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
One day you may actually need to use it.
I sure hope not.
No, so do I.
But it is. Yeah, I keep them handy.
Yeah.
Because I do. I just don't have it there, but I should.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then back to the opening here.
Yeah.
So this, you've got the lunchroom there for the employees.
Yeah, that's the break room, kind of. That's where fridge and microwave and stuff are.
Yeah. Okay. So this room is not only the break room though; it has another function.
Yes.
We're in Kansas. They have these things called tornadoes once in a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually a concrete safe room.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So this one is not moving from the building.
No, that one is very stationary. Yeah. It's not going to be going anywhere.
Yeah. So the wall, about what, 16 inches?
Yeah. So I think the concrete was 12.5 inches.
Okay.
And then there's extra for the drywall, studding and stuff. So
yeah. And you said the roof or
the ceiling is concrete. It's fully encased.
Yeah,
it is a bunker. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hold up in there for anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Excellent. And it's got the reinforced steel door and everything.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's a nice safe place to have.
Yeah.
Feels good.
So this is going to be an open space, basically?
Yeah, this will be all opened.
Right. Excellent.
And so these will go, all the desks will go away, the carpet will go away. I plan on doing like race deck in here probably because it's going to be PPF, keep the floor dry where I'm working at least.
Right, yeah.
So I'm not sitting in water.
Yeah.
And then lighting and upgrades there. But yeah.
Yeah, the drop ceiling is actually a nice thing to keep if you can.
I'm planning on keeping it.
Yeah, for noise, air conditioning and all that.
Right.
Plus, at the same time, you can really stage your lighting better with these.
Correct. Yeah. So this room here is actually lower than this room over here. Yeah. So and that's fine because I need the roll-up door to be tall enough to allow like a big truck in anyway. Yeah. So I was going to raise this ceiling to match this one,
right,
and then do all the light array and stuff like that. Thought about doing like a light box kind of a deal basically in the ceiling to kind of where my work is going to be, and then like where the Vipers sit.
Yeah.
Have really good lighting, like light box type lighting over the top of those.
Beautiful.
And then probably some wall, some down low lighting for PPF.
Yes.
To be able to see down low on a bumper or fender or something like that.
Yeah. Any plans on a lift?
Maybe, potentially.
You'll have a good 10 or 12 foot ceilings.
Yeah. So I don't know that I want to do. I like the race ramps. You can roll around, hang on the wall. I don't know that I want to kill off space with like a permanent lift, like a four post. They take up so much floor space.
Well, we used scissor lifts in our business.
Yeah.
We had a number of them. They're actually easy to move around.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't, hang it on the wall.
Right.
But you can reposition them easily. The ones we had went up to 60 inches. So you have 5 feet. So if you're doing a rocker panel or something, first of all, the lift isn't in the way. A 4-post, the lift is always in the way.
Right.
Unless you're working under the car, which we don't work under the car.
Yeah.
We want the lift under the car, not us under the car.
Right.
So with the scissor lift, it allowed very good access to rocker panels, the bottom of the front bumper, if you're doing a track pack and you're doing the bottom of the back bumper, things like that.
Okay.
The other really fun thing about a scissor lift is doing interiors. People don't think about it, but instead of kneeling on the ground, you raise the car up to here.
Raise the car up to your chest.
And then you're vacuuming the carpet.
You're not bending over feeling like you're 80 years old when you're done vacuuming the car.
Exactly.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
Well, even just washing that thing. The Vipers sit so low and the Corvettes sit so low.
Yeah.
Even washing those would be nice on a lift of some
scissor
kind.
Lifts in a wash bay, not the best combination.
Yeah.
They tend to rust.
Yeah.
But because they're made, whether you buy a very expensive one or a cheap one, a lot of the components come from China anyways.
Right.
So it's the pump, between an expensive one and a cheap one, it's the pistons and the pumps that change.
Right.
The actual mechanism of it, pretty much the same.
What brand do you have a brand recommendation of any kind today?
We always bought our lifts off Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, okay.
Because there's always someone that bought one, doesn't need it anymore.
For it now.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of wear items on it. Change the hoses.
Right.
And the check valves and change the oil in it, and you're good.
Yeah, change the fluid and be done. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'll have to check Marketplace because I would like to have a scissor lift. I would of some kind or some sort, some sort of lift because the race ramps work, but they still are so limited in height.
Yes.
Like even on that Corvette, it'll be up on the race ramps, and I'm still going to be.
You're laying on.
I'm still going to be laying on the floor trying to get the bottom side of the bumper done.
Yeah.
Which at least I'll be able to see laying down.
But still.
But I don't want to have to lay down to see that stuff. But yeah, the 4-post is just. I love the idea. They're just. The posts are in the way. And
the ramp is in the way.
The ramp is in the way.
They're made to, you can drive your F-350 onto it.
Right.
So when you have the small car, it's like the ramp is here and the car is there.
Yep.
And for polishing as well, they're fun. You can adjust the height of the car to polish. So if the hood is too low, raise it up a foot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'll have to look into those. I used to use the race ramp variant that was fully portable, and those worked well, but they didn't lift very high. I think they were
18 inches.
18 or 24.
Yeah.
They might have been 2 feet. I don't remember. I know that there's a couple of different levels of them. But yeah, and even still it was limited. Like I couldn't put a C8 on it because it didn't have the right spacing, and even with the extensions it didn't have the right spacing to hit their mount, their lift points, and so it's just constantly whereas with something that has did they have arms that you could adjust?
The arms were adjustable. Like we lifted F-350s with it, and we lifted small cars.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, the ones we had were roughly around 6,000 pounds.
Okay.
So, not a 4-door F-350,
right.
But, a 2-door regular cab F-250 wasn't a problem. Yeah. When we had our business, the pickup trucks were getting bigger, but they weren't like today's trucks.
They weren't like today's. Yeah, it's been a while.
But getting rid of, the desk, as you say, that will be a good move in here.
Right.
How long you've been in here? 6, 7, 8 months?
October to today, so about 6 months.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So we moved in October 1st, and so just over 6 months, I guess. And it's a good space. I'm here at night and on the weekend now. Okay. I have another business venture that has sucked me in during the day. Yeah. At the time for now at least. Mm-hmm. And I'm working on transitioning back to this full time and letting that do its thing. But in the meantime, I'm there during
businesses
the day.
Evolve. You're not always where you want to be.
No, not at all. And it works out that this can be done at night and on the weekend. Yeah. And so.
And then in here, your lighting's actually very good. You could use a little more light down low, but in general, you've got fairly good lighting in here. There's not a lot of dark spots.
Yeah, there's not a lot of shadows, which was my big thing. Even I was really worried about the AC units that are up here. Yeah. Causing a lot of shadowing, and there's a little bit, but there's enough lighting. I mean, I upgraded all the bulbs. Yes. They were all the fluorescent
T8s.
And they were terrible. And so I upgraded them to these. I think they're 5,000 lumen. 5,000 K bulbs, and they've been fantastic. And then a fresh coat of white paint on the wall down low
made a difference.
Made it complete. I'll be excited to get fresh white insulation wrap in here, because I don't want to put FRP in here. I want to paint the red iron and clean it up some eventually. Yeah. But that's those are way down the road deals. Right.
And then since your door's here, the pass-through will be...
Yeah, the pass-through will be right here.
So basically this wall and the other wall are disappearing.
Basically, yeah. So this will be... I'll have a big roll-up door on this wall. Okay. So that can truly stay clean room-esque. Yeah. As clean room as it can possibly be. Right. But that's the goal with that, is to be able to have the separation. I wanted levels of separation. Yes. So my old shop was just one big open warehouse, about 2,000 square feet, and it was just open. And so I'd be doing PPF over in this corner and an interior in this corner, hoping that I could keep the dust down enough over here that the film wasn't going to be affected over here. And so the goal with the new space was have a wash bay. And that's where I can do interiors forever. That'll forever be interior and wash. Yeah. And then this will be polish coat. And then even once the clean room is built out, this will remain polish, and then I'll pull it into the clean room to do film. I won't ever open this door. Yes. If this door is open. Right. So there'll never be leaves blowing in there and things like that.
And with AC, you really don't need to have the doors open. No, there's a couple, a week in the spring where it's like beautiful, 65 degrees. Yeah, we'll open the doors. Yeah, but other than that, keep the doors closed.
Yeah, like this afternoon, if I was over here hustling, I'd probably open up the wash bay doors just to get that airflow.
Yeah, it's nice.
Coming out of winter, you just really want that fresh spring air. Yeah,
it's always a refresher, like the couple, the first week or two of spring when it's really nice out and you open the doors and it's beautiful. Yeah. But after that, it's like, no, keep the doors closed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't want the heat.
We don't want the heat. We don't want the dust. We don't want all sorts of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're moving into a new building, it takes time to, bring it to where you want to see it. So you have a vision for it. Right. But it takes time to get there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
There's investment involved.
There is a lot of time investment. And a lot of the time investment in here was just getting that FRP up and getting the wall taken out in here and paint and lights. And so, you know, now it's just kind of waiting until that's the clean room, the showroom area is far more important to me than floors or, you know, like those things can wait. The PPF clean room is pretty high on the priority list.
Right. What would you say your percentage of PPF versus coatings is?
I still do a lot more coatings than PPF. And it's because I have a problem with PPF, and it's mostly because I don't like it to not be perfect.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's not what it's meant to be, but I have an ego problem that I'm very aware of. And so until the clean room is done, I struggle really pushing it because I have that ego problem.
It's not an ego problem. As detailers, so if you have someone that's trained as a film installer and not a detailer, they see it all, that can pass.
Right.
Whereas as detailers, we look at it and go, that's horrendous.
Right. Yeah. That's true. That is true.
You know, we see that one little spot under the film. It's like, oh, I've got to rip the film up and start over again.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And so I do, I mean, and to be just totally honest, my margins are better on ceramic coatings. You know, I mean, I can knock out a coating a day.
Yeah.
And a PPF job takes me 3 to 5, depending on the job itself, you know, and if there's extra like coatings and things like that. So like that C8 dropping off Saturday, he'll pick it up the next Saturday because it's getting polished and coated and a bunch of film, full track pack and front end and a bunch of other odds and ends. And so, you know, it's a big job, but that's really the only job I can have for the week.
Yes.
So I could do more in coatings in that same time period. So, you know, it's hit and miss for me. I go through spurts where I won't do any PPF for a month or 2 months, and I'm okay with that. And then I'll go through spurts where that's all I get for a couple of months. And so it's just the seasons.
Yeah, pays the bills.
Yeah, it's all money, and I enjoy doing it all. So I just like picking up a polisher just as much as I like laying film. So and laying a coating. Coatings have gotten so much better.
So much easier.
So much easier. They work better. They look better. You know, like they're a great opportunity to make money.
Yes.
But you know, you've got those people who want real protection and you know, coatings just aren't that yet.
No, coatings are great chemical protection.
Right. Correct.
They're never going to protect against a stone chip or the key down the side or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in here, is there anything that you would recommend once it's kind of built out?
Once it's opened up, a little more lighting. Sure. It's not, you know, you don't need a drastic amount of lighting, but having some lighting on the walls, just as contrast lighting when you're polishing.
Yeah.
Because of that, you know, you've got the upper lighting, but then when you get down to the sides, it's a little more difficult.
Similar. Yeah.
And instead of, you know, I notice you have all the little icon lights in there that you probably use and move around.
Yep.
They're fine, but if you can just turn a switch on and everything is there.
There's a bunch of lights.
Yeah. Same thing, the flooring, you know, polished concrete in here would be great.
Yeah.
Do you have an emergency eye wash station here?
No.
Okay, that's something that would be nice to pick up.
Sure.
You know, you can get the ones that are just wall mounted.
Okay.
That helps. You don't have it. Do you have any employees at the moment?
I do not. No, okay. It's just me and my wife.
Okay.
For now.
Employees on the way eventually?
The goal is by the end of this year to have at least 2.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So that I can float businesses more. Yeah. You know, that level of flexibility.
Yeah.
To be where I need to be when I need to be there.
If you're a detailer looking for a job in Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah.
Come see Scott.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Excellent. So with that, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And let's go out to the bus to give him his final report card. We had a great visit with Scott. Yes, his shop is a work in progress, but we can see the vision. We can see where he's going with it. It's not his first shop, so he knows what he's doing. A few things I would change, like I said in there, get rid of that insulation on the lower parts of the walls, a little more lighting, and when he gets that front showroom done, it's going to be a marvelous place to detail and for the customers to go to. With that, we're off to the next one. We'll see you around. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, leave them below. Hit that notification bell, thumbs up, and subscribe to the House of Rags. A lot of great content creators making content for you to have fun and enjoy. Thanks. See you in the next one.